You know, we live in a world where confidence can be crushed in seconds by a single number. One measurement, one statistic, one comparison you never asked for but somehow ended up carrying around like a weight strapped to your chest. Somewhere along the way, someone convinced men that their worth, yes, their actual worth could be distilled down to inches on a ruler. And today, I want to dismantle that myth with the full force of science and common sense, because here's the truth. When researchers actually put this question under the microscope, not the internet, not locker room folklore, not the loudest guy in the group chat, but actual scientific studies, they found something astonishing. Women aren't walking around with rulers in their purses. They're not selecting partners like they're picking out lumber at a hardware store. What they're really craving is connection, compatibility, confidence, presence, safety, chemistry, humor, emotion, humanity. Science shows again and again that satisfaction isn't defined by a number, it's shaped by communication, by trust, by the ability to listen, respond, adapt, and care. It's shaped by how comfortable a woman feels with you, how safe she feels being vulnerable, how deeply she feels chosen, desired, and understood. That's the magic. That's the electricity. And no piece of anatomy, no matter the size, can replace that. But let's go deeper. Because too many men have been quietly hurting under the weight of insecurity they never deserved. Studies reveal something powerful. The vast majority of women describe preferences that fall within an incredibly broad, ordinary range. In fact, well over 70% say they're fully satisfied with their partner's body as it is. What matters more than anything physical is the energy behind it. The confidence a man carries, not arrogance, not bravado, but genuine comfort in his own skin. The kind that says, I know who I am and I show up fully. And here's where the science becomes liberating. Women's satisfaction increases dramatically not from physical changes, but from emotional availability, communication, and shared effort. That means the true game changers aren't found in measurements, they're found in mindset, listening, learning, patience, playfulness, respect, the courage to ask, what do you enjoy? And the even greater courage to act on the answer. So let me ask you, what would happen if you stopped judging yourself by a number that never determined your worth in the first place? What would happen if you stepped into relationships with the confidence of someone who knows the truth, someone who understands that real satisfaction comes from presence, not pressure? Imagine walking into a room knowing your value isn't fragile. Imagine showing up in a relationship knowing you don't have to prove anything. You just have to be something real, something attentive, something emotionally intelligent, something fully alive. That is what women actually respond to. That is what partners remember. That is what builds bonds that last. Science has already cleared the fog for you. Women aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for connection. They're looking for someone who makes them feel safe, seen, heard, and desired. And that's something no ruler on earth can measure. So let go of the myth. Let go of the pressure. Step into the kind of confidence that comes from truth, not comparison. Because when you show up with heart, curiosity, and presence, you already have everything you need. And I promise you, that is what women truly want. Let's take a deep breath and peel back the layers of this conversation. Because for far too long, men have been handed a script that was never based on truth. Never rooted in science, never backed by real experience. A script that tells them their worth can be reduced to a measurement. A script that has fueled insecurity, shame, comparison, and quiet self-doubt. But when actual research steps into the room, when psychology, physiology, and relationship science take the microphone, the story changes. Completely. Scientific studies on women's preferences overwhelmingly reveal that physical, Size is simply not the leading factor in attraction or satisfaction. What matters exponentially more is compatibility, the full landscape of connection that exists between two people. And when I say compatibility, I'm talking about so much more than physical attributes. I'm talking about communication, emotional intelligence, confidence, trust, and the quality of presence you bring into intimacy. Research consistently shows that when women describe what truly creates fulfillment, they point to emotional comfort, the feeling of being understood, the ability to openly communicate desires, and the sense of safety that allows them to relax into the experience. Think about that for a moment. Before bodies even meet, the mindset, the energy, and the communication style of a man are already shaping the entire dynamic. Why does this matter? Because it means satisfaction isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. It's something you shape through attention, empathy, and curiosity. It means that no matter who you are, no matter what insecurities you've carried, you have the ability to create deeply fulfilling experiences, not because of anatomy, but because of intention. Let's talk about confidence. Because science highlights this as one of the strongest predictors of attraction, but not the shallow kind of confidence rooted in ego or performance. I'm talking about grounded confidence, the stability that comes from knowing your worth doesn't rise or fall on whether you fit an unrealistic standard. When a man carries that kind of confidence, women feel it. It creates safety. It creates comfort. It makes space for playfulness, for vulnerability, for presence. And presence, more than anything, is what amplifies intimacy. There's another fascinating insight science gives us. Women's satisfaction increases, more from communication than physical factors. Studies show that when men ask questions, when they listen, when they adapt, when they show genuine interest in what their partner enjoys, satisfaction skyrockets. Why? Because communication dissolves awkwardness. It removes guessing. It replaces self-consciousness with collaboration. It allows both partners to feel like co-creators instead of performers. And then there's emotional presence. The ability to be engaged, attentive, invested. Women repeatedly report that emotional connection is a stronger predictor of satisfaction than any physical characteristic. Emotional presence doesn't mean being overly sensitive or dramatic. It means showing up with your mind, not just your body. It means making a woman feel chosen, valued, and safe in a way she remembers long after the moment ends. Finally, let's talk about mutual comfort. Science shows that when both partners feel comfortable, relaxed, and unjudged, satisfaction increases dramatically. Comfort allows the body to respond naturally. It allows desire to flow freely. It turns the experience from something mechanical into something immersive. And comfort is never created by measurements. It's created by energy, compassion, respect, and the ability to make someone feel at ease. So here's the truth science gives us. Women want connection, not perfection. They want presence, not pressure. They want communication, not comparison. When you embrace these truths, you step into a new kind of power, one that isn't fragile, isn't insecure, and isn't defined by anything external. Because real compatibility isn't measured in inches. It's measured in how deeply you show up. Real attraction and satisfaction come from connection, skill, trust, and the ability to make a partner feel seen and understood, not from numerical comparisons or unrealistic cultural expectations. Let's step into the heart of what truly matters, what science, psychology, and lived human experience all agree on. Satisfaction is built, not measured. And the moment you understand this, the rules of attraction begin to shift. The weight you've been carrying begins to lift, because you realize something powerful. The most important qualities, the ones that create magnetic chemistry, aren't physical measurements. They're emotional, psychological, energetic, and behavioral. One of the strongest findings across relationship science is this: attraction is multidimensional. It's not a single variable. It's not a number. It's a constellation of traits that come together to create a sense of connection. Women consistently describe their most fulfilling experiences not in terms of physical perfection, but in terms of how deeply they felt understood, cared for, appreciated, and emotionally connected. What does that actually mean? It means that satisfaction comes from the relationship dynamic, the way you make a woman feel, the way you communicate, the quality of attention you bring, the effort you invest, the presence you offer. These are the real markers of compatibility, and they are far more influential than anyone wants to admit. Skill is another key piece that science highlights, and it has nothing to do with natural attributes and everything to do with learning, curiosity, and responsiveness. Skill is something you develop through communication, asking questions, paying attention, noticing reactions, and adjusting. Women repeatedly report that the most fulfilling partners weren't the ones who tried to impress them, but the ones who tuned in, listened, and cared enough to refine the experience. Skill is about collaboration, not performance. It's about co-creating the moment instead of trying to dominate it.